Have you ever looked at people like Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, or Nelson Mandela, and felt that your life could never come close to theirs? You wake up, do your job, take care of the things you're supposed to, and yet something feels hollow. It's not that your life is bad, it's just that it doesn't feel meaningful. Not in the way theirs did. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. So many of us, especially in our 20s and 30s, carry this quiet ache, like we're just floating through days that all blend into each other. We scroll through Instagram, we go to work, we laugh at memes, and yet, deep down, there's this tiny voice that whispers, "Is this it? Is this all I'm here for?" Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, once said, "As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being." You see, life isn't meaningless because we don't do big things. It feels meaningless because we've lost the connection to who we truly are, because we confuse being productive with having a purpose, because we compare our insides with other people's highlight reels. And let's be honest, it's hard not to. When you read about Da Vinci's inventions, or Mandela's courage, or Shakespeare's timeless words, what you're really asking yourself is, will my life ever matter in that way? But here's something Jung believed that might surprise you. The meaning of life has nothing to do with what you achieve. It has everything to do with who you are and how deeply you know yourself. In a world that tells you to hustle harder, Jung asks you to slow down, to listen inward, because somewhere within you, beyond the noise, beyond the anxiety, beyond the doubt, is a light. Your light. But right now, that light is dim. Not because it isn't real, but because it's buried. Buried under expectations, under shame, under all the versions of yourself you've tried to become. To be liked, to be accepted, to be enough. And this is where we begin. Not with achievement, not with goals, not even with being happy, but with a question. Who are you? Really? Not who your parents wanted you to be. Not who your boss sees. Not even who you've convinced yourself to be just to make it through the week. But the you behind the mask. The you who shows up in dreams. The one you silence when you're scared of being too much or not enough. That part of you that's been quietly whispering, there's more to life than this. Jung called this journey individuation, the process of becoming your true self. Not your polished self. Not your Instagram self. Your whole self. But here's the catch. To truly begin this journey, you have to be willing to look into the places you've avoided. You have to face the shadow. That means acknowledging the parts of you you've called bad, shameful, broken. The laziness, the jealousy, the anger, the fears, the dreams you buried because someone once laughed at them, the desires you've never said out loud. It's all there, and it's all you. And here's the most powerful truth Jung gave us. In the darkness you've been avoiding lies the meaning you've been chasing. So if your life feels empty right now, that isn't a sign you failed. It's an invitation to turn inward, to light a match in the dark, to start seeing your shadow not as something to fight, but as something to understand. You don't have to change overnight. You don't need to fix yourself. You're not broken. You're just disconnected from yourself. And once you begin to reconnect to your feelings, your truth, your fears, your hopes, something beautiful happens. The emptiness? It starts to feel like space. Space to grow, space to breathe, space to rediscover who you've always been. And maybe, just maybe, your life will never look like Einstein's or Mandela's, but it was never meant to. Because your purpose, your meaning, isn't out there. It's in here, waiting. So if you've ever felt like your life is just drifting, let this be your first step back to yourself. If that resonated with you, take a moment. Breathe. And if you've ever felt that quiet ache of emptiness, let me know in the comments by typing, "I feel it too." Because this is where it starts. And in the next part, We'll explore the part of you that holds the key to your purpose, even if it scares you. We all like to think we know ourselves. We can list our strengths, our quirks, our preferences. We know what we like to eat, who we get along with, what kind of music we vibe to. But what if I told you, you only know a part of you? Carl Jung believed that every human being has a psyche, made up of both the conscious and the unconscious. And at the very center of our conscious mind sits the ego, that part of us we recognize, the one we curate, the one we show to the world. But the ego is not the whole story. Far beneath it, hidden in the shadows, is another version of you, a part you rarely acknowledge, the part you sometimes feel, and then quickly push away, the part you learned to hide as a child, because it didn't win you approval. Jung called it the shadow. And here's where things get uncomfortable. Your shadow isn't just your darkness, it's your suppressed truth. It holds the thoughts you were told were too much, the feelings you weren't allowed to feel, the impulses you were told to control, the dreams you abandoned because they weren't realistic. But it's not just bad stuff. Your shadow also hides power, desire, passion, creativity, authenticity, all the parts of you that didn't fit the mold. And the longer you ignore your shadow, the more you suffer. Not because your shadow is evil, but because denying parts of yourself always creates conflict. Have you ever overreacted to something and had no idea why? Have you ever hated a trait in someone else and later realized it's because it mirrors something in you? That's your shadow trying to speak. The more you repress it, the more it shows up in other people, the more it leaks into your dreams, your moods, your triggers. And the more it holds you back from living fully, because you can to be whole if you only accept half of who you are. But here's the twist. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your teacher. And the more you learn to see it, the more you begin to reclaim your power. Imagine this. You've always struggled with anger. You were told to be nice, stay calm, don't make a scene. So you suppress that anger, push it down. But then, one day you explode. Or you become passive-aggressive. Or you develop anxiety and don't know why. That's shadow at work. Now imagine instead that you sit with your anger, you journal about it, you ask it what it's trying to tell you. Maybe it's saying, you've let people walk over you, or you've been silent for too long. Now that anger isn't a problem, it's a signal. Your shadow wants to guide you to what you need, but only if you're brave enough to listen. And this is the power of your darkness. It's not here to shame you. It's here to show you what you've forgotten. It's not here to punish you. It's here to help you return to yourself. So, how do you start connecting with your shadow? Start by noticing. When you judge someone, pause. Ask yourself, do I have that in me too? When you feel triggered, breathe. Ask, where is this coming from? When you find yourself pretending, reflect. Who am I trying to be right now, and why? And when you feel something uncomfortable rising inside you, don't silence it. Get curious. The more you observe, the more you'll see patterns. The more you write, the more truth will surface. The more you own your shadow, the less power it has over you. This isn't easy work, but it is the most important work you'll ever do. Because buried in that darkness is everything you've been seeking. Your clarity, your authenticity, your power, your purpose. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. So go ahead. Ask the question most people are too afraid to. What am I hiding from myself? You might not like the answer, but it will set you free. If this part helped you see yourself in a new light, drop a comment below and write, I'm ready to meet my shadow. Let's step into the dark together, because that's where your light is waiting. Have you ever wondered, why does my life feel so empty? even when everything looks fine from the outside? You have a decent job, you hang out with friends, you laugh at memes, and yet, every night before you sleep, something in you whispers, there must be more than this. If you've ever felt that quiet ache, that sense that you're existing but not truly living, this video is for you. Because today, we're going on a journey, not out into the world, but inward, into the parts of you that you've hidden, forgotten, maybe even feared. What if I told you, the key to a meaningful life isn't about achieving more, but about uncovering the parts of you you've never dared to look at? The truth is, most of us spend our lives wearing masks, trying to be what others expect, trying to be good, trying to be enough. But deep down, we know something's missing. Carl Jung called it the shadow, and inside that shadow lies your greatest pain and your greatest power. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who spent years trying to be the perfect son, the perfect worker, the perfect friend. Everyone praised him, everyone liked him, but inside, he felt hollow, numb, tired. One day, during a quiet walk in the woods, he finally asked himself, "Who am I when I stop performing?" That single question changed everything. And maybe, just maybe, you're that person too. So if you've ever felt like something is missing, if you're tired of pretending, if you're ready to meet the real you, flaws, fears, power and all, then stay with me, because what you're about to discover might just be the reason you were born. If you've ever felt that inner emptiness, that quiet voice calling you back to yourself, leave a comment saying, "I feel it too." And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want more videos that help you rediscover who you truly are. So, you've realized there's a part of you you've ignored. You've caught glimpses of your shadow. But now what? How do you actually begin the process of meeting it? How do you look at something that's hidden? The truth is, your shadow doesn't come out when you demand it. It reveals itself when you're ready to listen. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. And step one of that journey? Self-awareness. But not just the kind of awareness where you notice what food you like or what your love language is. This is deeper. This is about sitting down with yourself and asking questions that most people run from. So here's where you begin. 1. Start journaling, but not just about your day. Write about the moments when you felt triggered. You judged someone harshly. You said something you didn't mean. You avoided a situation even though you cared about it. And then ask yourself, what was I really feeling? What did I want but couldn't ask for? Is there a part of me I'm trying to hide here? Over time, these answers begin to form a pattern, a story of who you are when no one is watching. 2. Notice what annoys you in others. This might sound strange, but it's one of the most powerful tools. The people who irritate you the most often reflect parts of yourself you haven't made peace with. If someone's arrogance makes you mad, is it because you've buried your own confidence? If someone's laziness triggers you, is it because you were afraid of your own need for rest? This is called projection. And your shadow loves to play this game, but once you catch it, once you say, "Oh, that might be me too," you take your power back. 3. Observe the mask you wear. You might think you're being yourself all the time, but most of us, we have a persona, a version of us that's acceptable, likable, safe. Ask yourself, do I act differently with different people? Am I hiding parts of myself to fit in? What would I say or do if I wasn't afraid of being judged? That mask you wear isn't bad. It's a survival strategy, but you can't find your shadow if you don't admit you're wearing one. 4. Revisit childhood moments. Many of your shadow traits were formed when you were just a kid. Maybe you were told not to cry, so you learned to bury your sadness. Maybe you were scolded for being loud, so you now suppress your passion. Maybe you were praised for being the smart one, so now you fear making mistakes. Think back. Write about those moments. Notice how they shaped the rules you live by today. 5. Practice radical honesty. Shadow work isn't about judging yourself. It's about being honest with yourself. So the next time you feel jealous, don't say, "I shouldn't feel that." Say, "I feel jealous," and that's okay. The next time you feel rage, don't bury it. Ask, where is this coming from? What boundary is being crossed? The more honest you are, the more you'll begin to understand. Because here's the thing. Your shadow isn't a monster under the bed. It's a part of you, waiting to be seen. And once you start seeing it, not as something to fear, but something to understand, you begin to feel whole. You start realizing that your so-called flaws are often your greatest messengers. Your anger tells you what matters. Your envy shows you what you desire. Your sadness reveals what you value. Your fear points you toward your potential. This is the power of shadow work. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, but it is also profoundly healing. You won't become a new person overnight, but you will become a more honest person, a more integrated person, a more alive person. So take a deep breath, pick up a journal, and start with this question. What part of me have I been afraid to meet? If you're ready to begin this journey, write "I'm ready" in the comments. Or better yet, share one truth you've discovered about yourself today, even if it's uncomfortable, because every shadow you face brings you closer to your light. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try to be better, you still end up fighting the same parts of yourself? The laziness, the jealousy, the anger, the insecurity, the overthinking, the procrastination. You tell yourself, "I shouldn't feel this way. I should know better. I should be over this by now." But the more you fight these parts, the stronger they seem to get. So what if the problem isn't that you have flaws? What if the problem is how you treat them? Carl Jung once said, "I'd rather be whole than good." And that changes everything. Because most of us, we've been taught to aim for good, to be calm, nice, productive, confident. And whenever we fall short, we punish ourselves, we shame ourselves, we try to fix ourselves. But here's the truth. You don't heal by hating your broken parts. You heal by seeing them clearly and choosing to understand them. Let's take laziness. You probably see it as a weakness. But what if it's actually a message? What if your laziness is your body saying, "I'm tired, I need a break, I'm burnt out"? What if your anger is a signal that your boundaries have been crossed for too long? What if your jealousy is pointing to a dream you've abandoned and want back? You see, your so-called flaws are not character defects. They are emotional data. They are signals from your unconscious, begging you to pay attention. But if you ignore them, or worse, shame them, they don't go away. They go underground, into the shadow, and then they come out when you're least ready for them. That's why people who claim they never get angry are the ones who suddenly explode. Why those who deny their sadness end up numb. Why people who suppress fear become rigid and controlling. You can't escape your flaws by fighting them, but you can transform them by integrating them. And that means asking, what does this part of me need? That's not an excuse. It's compassion. And compassion is what makes healing possible. Let's try something together. Think of a part of yourself you hate. Maybe it's your anxiety. Maybe it's your procrastination. Maybe it's how you shrink around others. Now close your eyes and imagine that part of you as a child, a younger version of you, terrified, confused, rejected, alone. Would you scream at that child? Or would you kneel down, look into their eyes, and say, "I see you. I know you're hurting. You don't have to hide." That is shadow integration. That is how you stop fighting and start healing. Because here's what no one tells you. Every part of you is there for a reason. Your fear It once kept you safe, your control. It once gave you a sense of order, your anger. It once protected your dignity. They may not serve you now, but they've never been your enemy. So instead of declaring war on yourself, try making peace. When you stop fighting your flaws, you start building a relationship with your true self. And in that relationship is where meaning begins. What's one flaw you've been fighting that you're ready to understand? Leave a comment, even just one word, and take that first step toward healing. And remember, you're not here to be perfect. You're here to be whole. By now, you've started to see it. Your darkness isn't a curse. It's a compass. But knowing your shadow exists isn't enough. Understanding it is just the first step. The real transformation happens when you learn how to use it. Carl Jung didn't believe in destroying the dark parts of ourselves. He believed in integrating them, taking what's hidden and making it conscious, taking what we fear and turning it into fuel. Let's break that down. Think of anger. Most of us see anger as a problem. It's dangerous, loud, ugly. So we suppress it. We say, "I'm not an angry person." We smile when we're hurt. We stay quiet when we should speak up. But the truth is, anger, in its purest form, is a boundary detector. It rises when something feels unfair, unsafe, unjust. So instead of suppressing your anger, ask it, what am I protecting? What value is being violated? That's how anger becomes courage. Let's talk about envy. It's easy to feel ashamed of jealousy. But envy, too, is a signal. It shows you what you want, what you've denied yourself or believed you didn't deserve. The next time you feel jealous, pause. Ask, what is this showing me about my deepest desire? What part of me believes I can't have it? That's how envy becomes vision. Now, what about laziness? We often beat ourselves up for not being productive. But what if your laziness isn't laziness at all? What if it's your soul whispering, I need rest, I need to breathe, I need to feel again? When you honor that stillness, and not as a weakness but as wisdom, you begin to recharge in ways that no to-do list ever could. That's how laziness becomes clarity. Can you see the pattern? Every shadow trait holds a gift, but only if you stop rejecting it. Because the truth is, your negative traits are often your most underdeveloped strengths. Your rage may hold your leadership. Your fear may hold your creativity. Your jealousy may hold your ambition. Your self-doubt may hold your humility. But none of it can bloom if you keep it in the dark. So how do you use your darkness? Step 1. Acknowledge it without judgment. Step 2. Listen to it. Ask it what it needs. Step 3. Give it form. Write it. Draw it. Speak it. Step 4. Decide how to channel it. Anger doesn't need to scream. It can write. It can lead. It can protect. Fear doesn't need to paralyze. It can prepare. It can sharpen. It can guide. The more you understand your darkness, the less it controls you. And the more you channel it with intention, the more powerful you become. You are not meant to be light only. You are not meant to be easy to digest. You are not meant to fit in perfectly with everyone else's expectations. You are meant to be whole, which means messy, complicated, contradictory, brilliant. When you learn to dance with your shadow, you stop hiding. You start living. So don't be afraid of the dark anymore. Instead, ask it to walk beside you. Because that's where your strength is. That's where your voice is. That's where your you is. If there's a shadow trait you're ready to explore, anger, envy, fear, laziness, share it in the comments. Let's stop pretending we're perfect and start becoming powerful instead. So far you've done the hard part. You've looked inside. You've faced the shadow. You've begun to understand your darkness. But now comes the part that most people skip. Action. Because awareness, without action, is just theory. You can know your shadow. You can journal every night. You can understand your triggers, your patterns, your childhood wounds, but unless you do something with that insight, you're still living in your head. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." Let that sink in. Not what you dream, not what you believe, not what you tell your friends, what you actually do. You might say, "I value honesty." But do you speak up when it's hard? You might say, "I want to live with purpose." But are you making choices that reflect that? You might say, "I'm working on myself." But are you showing up differently? Shadow work isn't just emotional. It's behavioral. It has to show up in how you speak, how you love, how you handle conflict, how you move through the world. Because otherwise, you're just a self-aware version of who you used to be. And that's not transformation. That's stagnation dressed up as growth. So what does action look like? It looks like saying no when your people-pleasing kicks in. It looks like expressing anger constructively instead of bottling it. It looks like asking for help when your pride tells you to stay silent. It looks like letting yourself rest without guilt. Sometimes action is loud, other times it's quiet, but it always moves you closer to who you actually want to be. Think of it like this. You can say you're a writer, but unless you write, you're not. You can say you're healing, but unless you change your patterns, you're not. You can say you love yourself, but unless you treat yourself with love, you're not. Because who you are isn't just what's in your heart. It's what's in your habits. It's what you choose every day, especially when no one's watching. So let's make it practical. Choose one area of your life where you've been passive. Maybe it's your career, your relationships, your health, your creativity. Now ask yourself, what would someone who honors their shadow do in this situation? What small action can I take today to live more honestly? Maybe it's writing that email. Maybe it's setting that boundary. Maybe it's finally finishing that piece you've been putting off. Whatever it is, do it. Because the only way to build a meaningful life is to build it, not think about it, not dream about it, not talk about it, live it. So here's your challenge. Pick one small action that aligns with the real you, not your mask. Write it in the comments. Then go do it. And if you come back tomorrow, let us know how it went. Because you don't become yourself in your mind. You become yourself in motion. Let's talk about fear. The kind that knots your stomach. The kind that makes you hesitate. The kind that whispers, "What if I fail?" But also, the kind that reveals your purpose. Carl Jung once said, "Where your fear is, there is your task." Think about that for a second. The thing you're most scared to do? That's probably the thing you're meant to do. Why? Because fear is a spotlight. It shines brightest on the places that matter most to you, the places that hold the deepest risk and the deepest reward. But here's the thing. Most of us don't run toward fear. We run from it. We tell ourselves, "I'll speak my truth when I feel more confident. I'll start that project when I have more time. I'll leave that toxic job when I'm sure it'll work out." But the truth is, that day never comes. Because fear doesn't fade with avoidance. It fades with action. And not just any action, but the kind that honors what's truly important to you. So let me ask you, what are you most afraid of right now? Is it rejection, failure, judgment, disappointment? Now go deeper. Why are you afraid of that? Is it because you care deeply? Because you want something so badly it terrifies you? That's the sign. That's the meaning. You see, fear shows up loudest at the edge of expansion, when you're about to grow, when you're stepping into new identity, when you're leaving the comfort zone behind. But we misinterpret that fear as danger. We think it means stop, but often it means go. So what can you do when fear shows up? 1. Name it. Say it out loud. Write it down. Don't let it lurk in the dark. Fear grows in silence. It shrinks in truth. 2. Break it down. Ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid will happen? Is that outcome likely? Or just possible? What would I do if it happened? This isn't rumination. It's preparation. 3. Reframe it. Fear doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're on the edge of something important. Athletes feel fear. Artists feel fear. Leaders feel fear. But they move anyway, not because they don't feel it, but because they've learned to walk with it. And so can you. Because fear isn't the enemy of meaning. It's the invitation. It's the map that says, here lies your growth. Here lies your voice. Here lies your you. So if you're scared right now, good. That means something inside you is waking up, something that matters. And the task now is not to kill that fear. It's to follow it, to walk into the discomfort, to do the thing even if your hands shake, to show up even when your voice trembles. Because on the other side of that fear is freedom. Not because everything works out perfectly, but because you finally know you're the kind of person who faces their fear, and that is a powerful identity. So let me ask you, what's one thing you're scared to do, but know you need to? Write it down, say it out loud, and then ask yourself, what tiny step can I take today to walk toward it? Because where your fear is, there's your next task, there's your next truth, there's your next transformation. Let's get real for a second. Even if you face your shadow, even if you do the inner work, even if you take bold action and walk through your fears, life will still break your heart. You will still fail. You will still get hurt. You will still make mistakes. And that is not a problem. Carl Jung said, even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. You see, most people think that living a meaningful life means always being happy, successful, in control. But that's not meaning, that's fantasy. Meaning doesn't come from perfection, it comes from the process, from showing up when things are hard, from continuing when you're uncertain, from learning to sit with pain and grow through it. Think about it. Would you admire someone who never struggled? Would their story move you if it was flawless? No. What makes someone inspiring is their ability to fall and rise, to break and rebuild, to lose and still choose love, purpose, and truth. That's beauty. That's meaning. That's life. So if you've failed lately, good. If you've messed up, good. If you've doubted, broken down, felt lost, good. It means you're in it. You're not watching life from the sidelines. You're living it. And that's what separates people who feel alive from those who just exist. So let me tell you something that might bring you peace. Your life doesn't have to look like a highlight reel to be meaningful. You don't need a perfect job, a flawless relationship, 1 million followers, a 6-figure income. You just need to show up, fully, honestly, consistently, to keep growing, even when it's slow, to keep loving, even when it hurts, to keep searching, even when you feel lost. That's the path to meaning, because a meaningful life isn't shiny, it's true, it's messy, it's raw, it's filled with contradictions, and yet it's yours. So instead of chasing perfection, start honoring your progress. Instead of hiding your mistakes, start learning from them. Instead of trying to look like you have it all together, start becoming someone who's real. Because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more authentic people. People who are brave enough to say, I'm flawed, but I'm trying. I'm hurting, but I'm healing. I'm scared, but I'm still showing up. That's what makes your story powerful. That's what makes your life meaningful. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose in the middle of it. So here's your reflection today. What's one failure you've been ashamed of that actually taught you something important? Share it in the comments and honor it. Because that scar might just be your greatest strength. And remember, You're not meant to be perfect. You're meant to be whole. You've made it. You've walked through your doubts, faced your fears, met your shadow. And now, here you are, still imperfect, still uncertain, still becoming, but also still trying, still showing up, still you. And maybe, just maybe, that's the point. Because for all the questions you've carried, for all the moments you felt lost, for all the times you wondered if your life really matters, the answer was never out there. It was always in here, in the way you face yourself, in the way you feel deeply, in the way you choose courage, even when no one's watching. Carl Jung didn't promise a perfect life. He didn't promise clarity, certainty, or ease. What he offered was something better, a path to becoming your whole self, to owning your story, light and dark, to living a life that feels meaningful, because it's real. You don't need to become Einstein, or Mandela, or anyone else. You just need to become you, fully. That means knowing your gifts and your wounds. That means making peace with your past and choosing your future. That means embracing the contradictions and walking with your shadow. Because you, as you are already enough. Not because you've achieved something huge, but because you're still growing, still searching, still alive. And that is meaningful. So if you ever feel lost again, remember this: you are not behind, you are not broken, you are not too late. You are becoming. And every time you choose truth over performance, every time you choose honesty over hiding, every time you choose purpose over perfection, you take a step closer to the life that's waiting for you. So let this be your reminder. You are the meaning. Not your job, not your title, not your resume. You, in your quiet moments, in your brave choices, in your unspoken strength. So breathe, smile, and take the next step. You've got this. If this video helped you reconnect with yourself, leave it in the comments. Let this be your way of saying, I'm here, I'm growing, I'm enough. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so we can keep walking this path together. Because your journey matters, and I'm honored to walk beside you.